All right, everybody. I realized I'm getting ahead of you all, and I want to share this process. And this is kind of like I was polishing the Rivian the other day, and I'd already done the test spot, already figured out what process was working, and then I had to get Wald and like, we need to start filming this because I'm going to be done with this thing before we even get to share it with you. So, as you know, my intent now. I've intended to do a lot of things over the years, and I don't always get it. Sometimes a crossroads presents itself, and I head in a different direction. But as of right now, I'm planning to stay in the house in Darlington. I'm going to get the community dialed in because the HOA kind of fell apart. So I'm building an HOA. Believe it or not, we have to have an HOA to get everybody together so I can get the gate fixed and all that stuff. If I can do that, it's a pretty darn nice neighborhood. They're building like a $3 million house in the back. They're building a couple other multi-million-dollar homes. So the community is going to finish out, and it's pretty nice. I like where it's located. And so I've thought about, you've seen me talk about building a pole barn. And so we've come to the conclusion, Daniel and I, that the pole barn is just not the way I wanted to build it. It's basically a freaking kite, and we could probably do it, but it would cost twice as much to do. And so I might as well do it. You might as well just build a garage like I want. So Daniel has reached out to me maybe 6 or 8 months ago and said, hey, you can introduce yourself, Daniel, but hey, I would like to help you design stuff in the future, maybe become a resource for OG design. We can't stamp and approve plans. And like, well, I'm trying to build a garage. I'm like, well, where do I go? Who do I hire? And so I called them and said, hey, maybe this would be a good project to work on. And Daniel, you're getting like 50 state approved. Is that the plan?
Yeah, I mean, as I need them, essentially. So I'm based out of New York. I'm licensed in New York. I'm also licensed in Jersey and Florida currently. I can pretty much get licensed pretty quickly in any state. California will require uh, some additional paperwork and testing, but pretty much any state that demands a use for it, I can make it happen. So that's kind of the process of it.
So what is your actual title? Like, what is your background? Are you an architect? Are you an
Yeah,
engineer?
I'm the principal for SR Architecture Studio. We're based out of New York, so I'm a licensed architect. I have essentially we do commercial and residential work. We do a majority of residential work here in New York. We do a good amount of commercial work in Florida, ranging from self-storage, restaurants, pretty much everything. When I got out of school, I started out in a residential, and then I went into commercial, and then went out on my own, and some of that stuff carried with me. So, other than essentially what we'll handle in-house is architectural. When it comes to residential, we'll handle mechanical, electrical, plumbing within the residential side of things. When it comes to commercial and larger projects, we'll subcontract that out to like a mechanical, electrical, plumbing firm. And the same thing goes for structural. So for the most part, we'll handle everything structurally in-house for residential work. Commercial work, we'll sub out under our contracts.
So I decide I want to build a garage, and you tell me I need soil samples generally,
Yeah.
septic,
So
septic samples. So tell us the process that I'm having to go through that other people would have to do as well to build this freaking thing.
Yeah, so essentially, you're one of the first things you're going to need is a site survey. So we need to make sure that we essentially have enough property to build whatever you want to build.
Okay.
Coming from New York and doing most of my work in New York, it's a lot more strict up here as far as how much property you can develop on. What is the impervious areas. And especially in a scenario like this, where you want to build a garage with an upstairs, with essentially living space, whether it's going to be used as, a bedroom or not, different municipalities have different regulations on those.
Sure.
So, what you have going for you is that you have a good amount of property, so, I'd reached out to the local municipality for your area, they have a certain amount of area that you're allowed to cover for that building footprint, essentially impervious area. So that's the first step. Is usually, we'll do a zoning study essentially, where we take the property, we'll figure out what you can build, and usually scale it back a little bit from there. The next step is usually a soil boring. So you want to get a soil boring, not so much in residential, but the reason that I requested it initially with the pole barn is when you're not doing typical spread footings like a residential project where you have a higher significant point loads, you want to make sure that that soil is going to be able to handle that point load, so down in Florida, the water tables are typically very high. I mean, your property, you're in a pretty good situation, but especially when you go to commercial work, you're always fighting water levels. And then, the worst scenario that you can come across is some of these sites where they build these developments, the grade is not flat, so what they'll do is they'll bring in a lot of fill. And now that fill is not always structurally stable, so you can end up in a scenario where that soil is not going to hold it. So, in New York, we do a lot of stuff on the North Shore of Long Island, and on the North Shore, especially on the bluffs, you're talking about sand, and essentially you usually end up doing some sort of helical piles, something to give additional support to get it down to a bearing capacity, right? So that's kind of step two, figuring out what the soil is that's going to hold the project. From there,
Then we share a napkin drawing, right? Either
yeah,
somebody can come
exactly.
with nothing. Most people are going to have an idea. Most of our people are going to have an idea. In my case, I came to you with some drawings
Yeah,
on my rudimentary software. I used Home Designer, the Home Designer like essential software or something like that.
yeah.
Drew it up, said, this is what I think I want. And then you run with it from there. So that's what we're going to show you guys today. This is the architecture side of things. And then after this, we go to engineering, right? Engineering loads and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of went through the initial stages of that, so we can talk a little bit about that today. But for now, I think we'll start with just going through the kind of the layout from taking your initial design and then putting it into something,
Yeah.
that might work a little bit better, and we can kind of, roll through that now. So
So
if
go
you
ahead,
want,
share your screen, and then
yeah.
so Daniel and I haven't talked about this part. We're gonna just kind of bring you guys in live, real time. We're gonna talk through what the garage is gonna look like.
All right. So the first floor, I didn't really change all that much from your initial design. I had talked to you last time from your sketch about the stair area. And again, this is kind of a placeholder. We'll most likely do one of those nice, floating stairs, exterior stairs with some sort of covering over it. But I did shift the barn door over, get
Yep.
it out of, clear to that, because what we need to take into account here too is that these barn doors need to slide enough to get under those stairs, right? So if we're going to have any kind of structure supporting this stair, we need to make sure we have enough clearance for the door to get under that stair.
Yep.
Um, I have the sauna over here. It's kind of just a placeholder. You can put it wherever you want. Doesn't really matter. What I did do in the bathroom here was just did a little bit of an alternative layout where I'm thinking we can do a shower here, toilet, and then the vanity. The sink I have offset because you kind of had on your initial sketch, it looked like maybe something next to it. I don't know if it was like,
Yeah, we would just do tall first because this is the pool bath, and so that would be
yeah,
a tall like storage closet. Like so, same cabinets just would go floor to ceiling, and it would be So I like that idea. So
cool.
offset the sink. I like that layout there. That looks great.
Yeah, so I have a 3-foot door coming in. I know you like your big doors. I did a little bit, so typically residential bathrooms are 2-foot wide doors. I didn't do anything less than 2'6" in this. So I know you like your bigger doors. I gave you a 3-foot door from the exterior and a 2'6" door from the interior. And that's just to give it a little bit more clearance around this vanity here.
Got it.
I did some high windows, which we'll get into when we get to the elevations. And this was similar to what you had there.
Yep.
This wall here will do as a load bearing point. So essentially our floor joists are going to span left to right in this plan orientation.
Yep.
So we'll use this as our bearing wall to break it up, and then we'll run a flush header from this center point here out. So if I go back to, this is very preliminary, but this is essentially going to be our foundation plan of where all those loads are going to get transferred down to the soil, kind of what we were talking about earlier. So we'll run this as a continuous footing. Doesn't really make sense to break it up with the openings that we have, and it will just give you flexibility in case anything changes in the future. And then this will be a center point load for that flush girder. So we'll post down to that footing and then to the exterior foundation wall.
Got
it. All right. We have the 18-foot wide doors. We'll kind of get into some of that on the elevations as well. I just want to verify garage door heights with you, make sure that we're good on all that stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna do 18 by 8 is what I would do.
18 by 8, perfect. All right. I wasn't sure if you were going to want 9 foot, but I did 8 in the elevation, so you'll see what that looks like. I think that's pretty much it for this floor. I mean, it's pretty simple. Obviously, you want to do the slot drains. You're going to do some cabinetry here. I believe you also had a sink. Yeah, you have a sink in that area. So we'll do the plumbing for that area and the slot drain in your initial sketch. We'll also recess this down. I know you like to do that, so we'll get that set up. We can talk about where you want to run the hydraulic lines. Are you planning on running the unit somewhere on this wall, or do you have an idea?
I like to generally do it on the left, so you would
Okay.
have it on the wall. So we would probably do it perpendicular to the front of,
Okay.
So right there on the left side is probably where it would go. In between.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I have these windows set relatively high, so you'll still have plenty of wall space
Sure.
To that area, so it's not like it's going to be blocking your windows or anything like that.
And so my methodology is it'd be nice to have some natural light, but I don't want any glare and I don't want any sun hitting the wash bay area, right? So the wash bay, notice, doesn't have any windows. So
yeah. So, and what will be nice about this is this whole side of this garage here, I believe, is the north facing side. So you're going to get a lot of nice indirect light from that area.
Yeah.
So, from that standpoint, I think it will work out really nice with what you're looking to do. And even that natural light will kind of filter in a little bit through this glazing here. But again, it's not going to be any direct light.
Beautiful.
All right.
And then both of these bays are 24 feet wide, which is nice for fitting, because the Raptor and Rivian could park on the left side and have room to walk around and open the doors.
Yeah, so this left bay is 24 by 30'6".
Yep.
And then the right side is 35'6". So we have a 5-foot setback on this here, which I think was pretty close to what you had originally on yours, I think. Yeah, you had a 4-foot setback. So I did a little bit larger setback, and that was just for framing purposes and just to give a little bit more definition on the elevations.
Right. And these exterior walls will be block, right? We'll do block up the second floor and then frame out the second floor.
Yeah, so after this, I can also show you a section in AutoCAD that I have, just kind of showing what I'm anticipating for the construction on it. So we have block on the first floor, and then we'll go to 2x6 stud exterior wall upstairs.
So, and I think what we're going to do for HVAC is these two each will have their own mini split. And then we'll have supplemental dehumidification for the wash bay area, and then no conditioning in the gym. So that door there to the into the gym on the left, will be an exterior door, an insulated exterior door.
Yeah, that's fine. And I have this framed as a 2x6 interior wall as well, so we can get a little bit more insulation in there. So what I'm thinking we'll do is like a flash and back, where we do an inch or two of spray foam just to seal that up nice, and then we can do some regular, rock wool insulation in there. And that will also help with any exterior humidity and stuff like that.
So for me, this back area is going to be a CrossFit gym. For the next owner, will likely be for their yard equipment, storage of all their stuff. You
Yeah,
know, it'll be a
yeah.
big catch-all storage closet for somebody that's what 500 square feet to be pretty.
Yeah, it's not a bad size. Yeah, I think this should work out really nice. And then the same thing here, we'll carry some insulation in here. And then I know we had talked about for this bathroom here, I think what we'll do is we'll just drop a duct from the upstairs
Yep.
down into here, and we'll get some conditioning in here. I don't have any windows in here. If you wanted to do a high window, we could, but it's not required by code. We can do just mechanical ventilation, and then,
You
regular
probably
lighting.
just put a window on the door, do a,
Yeah, you could. I mean, it's really up to you. Typically, I don't, with this, it doesn't really matter. It's not like this is more of a true user style bathroom where, it's not meant for good looks. It's meant for you to be able to use it for the pool and whatnot. So it's up to you on whatever you want to do for that. All right, so let's go up to the second floor. I think this was kind of the biggest changes from your initial layout. And like I said, I started to lay out your initial design, which I like. What I struggled with most was this area over here.
Yep.
And I know you had mentioned you wanted to do a racing sim. There's a ton of room over here near the pool table, but nothing really that kind of designates any areas. And I wanted to try to also get you some sort of, island seating or bar seating. If you want to cook something or you have some drinks or catering, whatever the case may be, you have an area to put that stuff. So what I did was I started to lay it all out, and I said, you know what, let me try to rotate this.
Yep.
We had a ton of room for this podcast studio that really doesn't need to be that big. I mean, this is still a large size room at 402 square feet. So let's rotate this. Let's get the desk off the front wall. You still have this alcove that you wanted for kind of your home theater area, which will be really nice. And I think the square footage is the same, if not a little bit bigger than the original design. The other
So,
thing
so I love this. What I want to do, so let's get rid of my little alcove, which is going to mess up my audio anyway.
okay,
So if we take that wall and just run it straight.
straight down.
So go from not there to your right. Yeah. So we'll take all that out of the storage.
Okay,
So
perfect.
if we run, so run that wall straight up there, but come down to there, and then
Yeah,
yep, perfect. And then I won't have an acoustic nightmare on my hands.
yeah, that's fine. What I'll do is we should be able to. The only downside to that is I'm trying to stack this wall under what's below, but truthfully, there's not a ton of load there, so I think we can make it work anyway. Most likely, what we'll do is I'll see if we can potentially offset this load bearing wall. If not, what we'll do is we'll put a flush header up in here.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world. So that's definitely doable. And again, there's still tons of room in this podcast studio. You're 20 by 20 essentially in this room,
Yeah, it's giant. Yeah.
which
Yep.
should be nice. What I ended up doing as well was I pulled the front of this back because I wanted to give some difference in the elevation again from what we had. So as we get into the elevations, I'll kind of walk you through this a little bit more.
Okay.
This storage of mechanicals, even if we take out this little area here, you're still going to be about 200 square feet.
Yeah.
So I think it should be fine.
There, that little corner, the little part in the corner there could be where our air handler hangs out, right? And
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, this will be a good spot for your mechanicals. For upstairs can definitely work. I know you talked about maybe doing your central vac system up here. So any of those items, can work
pressure
here. What we
washer,
can do is do some additional, soundproofing within these walls. I mean, the rock wool is pretty good at soundproofing. So,
So this room
um,
I'm going to turn into a frickin', so we're gonna spray foam the floor. We're gonna spray foam the walls. We're gonna rock wool it. We're gonna
yeah.
hat channel it, and we're gonna do quiet rock.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
cool.
do that frickin' crazy, like two and a
Yeah.
half thick quiet rock. Uh,
Yep.
and we'll use green glue, and we're gonna make it acoustically like I want this room to like decimate all. We might
Yeah.
even do
No.
like a double green glue double floor, something like
Okay.
that. And it'll be carpeting. So it'll be big, thick, plush
Yeah.
carpeting.
That'd be nice. Yeah. The carpeting will definitely help. Um, the bathroom, I laid this out. I know you had the urinal and the toilet in the previous one. So this is, similar pass-through bathroom. It's a little bit bigger than it probably needs to be. But the reason I did it was to get it away from this platform, as well as give you enough of a run here in the kitchen so that the refrigerator isn't jammed up into the corner.
Yeah, love it.
Um, I did want to get you, a window over the sink. So this is kind of, honestly, it's not too far off from a kitchen that most houses are going to have. I
Yeah.
don't have a range in here. I don't know that you need one. I don't know that you want one.
I'd
Um,
probably put one of those like hybrid, microwave
yeah. Yeah,
convection.
so the combi microwaves that you essentially are ovens, and you could either do that, honestly, the island might not be a bad spot for that, or you can do it in one of the base cabinets, you know what I mean?
Yep. And I
Um,
do like a zip hydro tap. So I'd have, heated and chilled water on tap and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty cool. I
So
like that a lot. So I really like that change.
cool. I'm
This
glad you did.
because the game room was too big. I didn't know what to do with any of the room.
Yeah, honestly, and I struggled with that a little bit. Like I did like when you had the basketball set up over here, but I'm like, it's just so much dead space in the middle. So I
Yep.
said, let me do this. And then I thought this works. I wanted to give you, you've got more than 5 feet around the entire pool table, which kind
Yep.
of is like your design standard for that. So you're not going to be using the pool table and, smashing the cue into the wall and stuff like that. um, this is just a basic sim rig. I've seen the one that you have down in at the house in Georgia or whatever. So it's probably going to be a little bit bigger than this.
Yeah.
But at 9'2", we can always shift this a little bit if we need to. So if you said to me, hey, I need 10 feet, okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what we have. I think I have 10'2" and that it just fits. The other thing
Okay.
I'd like to do is the windows, if we can move the windows to the back wall, and because
Okay.
I'd love to put a giant TV right where those windows are, because then that would service the whole area.
Cool.
But for everybody watching, the method here is that I'm going to have teenagers, and you don't want teenagers to have couches where they can lay down and make babies. You know what I'm saying? So Michelle was very adamant about this. If you're going to have any kind of game room area, it's a standing area, and we'll probably put a camera in there, and just make it so that it's fun to hang out. That basketball game, people are going to love playing. But I don't want, we don't need any more movie theaters. I've already got 2 of them, and
Cool.
well, I'm gonna have 3 of them with my office, the office theater. So there's only so much TV you can watch.
Yeah. So we'll also, same thing, the joists are gonna run in the same direction as down below.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't do any windows in here. I did find an exception that we can get away without having the windows in this podcast studio. So I know you wanted that to kind of be a dark space, so we can
Yeah.
do that as long as we provide enough lighting, which I know you're gonna. So we'll
Oh yeah.
just have to show that as a calculation to show that we have the adequate lighting for that area.
So,
um
let's explain to them what my office idea is over there on the left so I've always wanted an office theater. I've been talking to people about this forever, where I have a desk, and then so the TV will go on the right wall that we just talked about blowing out there. And then I'm gonna have crazy. My dream is to have Dyne Audio Confidence, with some octave monoblock amplifiers, and so that whole wall is going to be a wall of awesome. But those two little steps there on the left, so the desk will be on a riser about 2 feet up, and so then the desk will sit, and the desk, the front of the desk will actually face the TV. And so the concept there is that I wanted to be able to sit at my desk, crank up my home theater, but then there will also be a nice couch there kind of between those steps is the plan. So it's like
Yeah.
the one little step up or two little step up to my little 2 foot riser.
Yeah, so we'll basically what we'll do in that scenario is we'll just frame a floor above the existing floor.
Yep.
We'll probably want to put a little bit of sound deadening in there as well, or insulation, just so that it's not echoing within that frame floor,
Yep.
So, but we can take care of that. And then, yeah, honestly, and that was your idea, and I think that's gonna really kind of set the room apart, have that nice elevated platform there.
Well, the
Uh,
other thing that it does is then in the future, if somebody else bought the house and wanted to make it a dedicated theater, you already have the riser for your
yeah,
second row of seating.
yep.
That you could do 3 rows of seating or more than 3 rows of seating in the place if you wanted to. I want it to be this isn't for everybody. This is gonna have a couch that fits me and a desk that fits me. This isn't for like hanging out with the family. This is for me to go disappear, and then, of course, I'm going to have the podcast studio. I'll also host meetings and stuff when like if I'm doing a meeting like this, I want to be able to do it in the podcast studio. That's the point of doing that. But we're going to be creating a legitimate podcast. So I've always wanted a room like that. And I think the storage closet, we turn it to a single door. I mean,
Here,
yeah, just to keep the
yeah,
wall space looking somewhat.
I would prefer that. Yeah, I kind of when I went up through that, so um, that will work out. We'll just do a single 3 foot door. Uh,
The
I
mechanic,
don't think,
we'll probably have vacuum system, we'll have pressure washing system, we'll have a soap injection system, we'll have compressed air system for
yeah,
downstairs. Will all be all the mechanical for all the water heaters, air handling will all be in that mechanical area. It'll all be
yeah,
insulated. It'll all be magical.
and one
Dehumidifiers all in there.
the nice thing about this too is that with the floor joists that I'm proposing to frame this with, we'll have plenty of depth to get all that stuff ran within the ceiling. So
Yep.
be nice, clean, everything. It should work out really nice.
The ceiling below, right?
Yeah, yeah, essentially the garage ceiling. Yeah,
And the other thing I don't need is more storage. I already don't have anything in the attic of the main house.
yeah,
So we're not worried about doing attic truss design. This thing's gonna be a monstrosity already because I want 11-foot ceilings on the first floor and 10
yeah.
foot ceilings on the second floor. This is gonna be a gosh darn giant, monster structure.
Yeah, so I did do what I'm thinking here is, let me see. So these are just some of the preliminary sections that I went through. Yeah, so we'll have 11-foot ceilings in the garage, and then I did pre-cut studs upstairs, so we'll get 10-foot upstairs as well.
Nice.
So, and then that way, when you guys frame the upstairs, you can just buy pre-cut studs for the 10-foot ceilings.
Yep.
And it's just it's the way to go. It's how every house is built. Usually now with 10-foot ceilings, but it will just make things a little bit easier.
Because I want 8-foot doors. Like the 2 doors going into my office will be acoustic, acoustic style, acoustically transparent doors or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
I think I'm still torn on this, but I think I want an open doorway to my podcast studio. I want it to feel like kind of one big room. The other thing I was thinking about was, I guess I can't really I would really like to have a window looking in the podcast studio, but I guess I can't really do that because I need that wall for my TV. So I think that the doorway where it is up at the top there makes it kind of feel like one big spot. No one's going to be in my office when I'm in the podcast studio. So, or
Well,
vice.
you could do the TV on this wall if you wanted to get some windows in this podcast studio.
Yeah. I was talking about a window to look at my podcast studio
Oh, I gotcha.
interior, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't think I'm gonna want that. I don't think I'm willing to make that sacrifice because I
yeah.
need that wall. But I do like this turned. I think that was the part I was struggling with is how do I get it in there and make it feel like one big giant office,
Mhm.
but they still have a bathroom and all that kind of stuff. Notice we also didn't put a shower up here. I don't need another shower. The shower's downstairs. The other thing that I was pretty adamant about is I want an exterior staircase because I don't want to take up the space inside the garage. Where would I put it? I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah, and they make some really nice stuff. And I think like what you were talking about with doing a connection to the house, maybe some sort of breezeway or something,
Yeah.
it just kind of works, like it really will look at play, in place. And from the standpoint of, saving the square footage, I think it will work out pretty nice.
Can you show them the survey where where just to
Yeah.
get an idea of where this thing's going to sit?
So what we have here, this is the older markup, but essentially what we're gonna have sitting here is that this is showing that walkway that you currently have
Yep. Yep.
from our last meeting here.
Dude, I
But
keep getting
essentially,
the darn pictures. I walked out the other day and didn't take the darn pictures.
we're gonna have something like this here, where this is gonna come in. Um, actually, let me do this. Let me open up that other survey I have from you. Yeah,
Yep.
so this was the original from the pole barn.
Yep.
Essentially, it's going to be in the same location. We're just going to modify the dimensions a little bit. So it's, was it 45 by 50 now? I think it is.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be the location here. What we do have to show, and this kind of goes back to our initial, this survey here doesn't have your pool. It doesn't have the other concrete walkways that you have. I think you said you have like a shed or a trampoline. Some of those things we need to account for when it comes to the impervious area. So the plan will be for the pole barn to go here. We're going to do a separate septic system for this, just so that it doesn't have to tie in. We don't have to verify the existing septic can handle the additional load. So it should work out really well. And that's the other reason that we also needed the soil borings. In order to do the septic system, you need to know what kind of soil you're going to be draining into. So make sure that you're not, putting a 12-foot deep dry well in and you've got groundwater at 4 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and so down there we're gonna try to do some covered breezeway, covered walkways into the pool area because this doesn't show the
yeah,
pool.
so in this one here was what we were kind of working out or marking where the pool might be.
Yeah,
I think you said you had another walkway over here.
yeah,
And then what we'll do is we'll place the garage, and then we'll probably do some kind of covered breezeway back to the house or the garage.
right. So we'll have a covering to the go back to the garage layout. We'll have
Yep.
a covering to the staircase and a covering that kind of carries down the side of the garage to the two doors, like for the bathroom, for the pool,
Yep.
and the entry into the garage. And that's how I'll enter the garage most of the time is that entry there on the left side.
Yep.
And so we'll have some sort of like curvy or sidewalk with a covered little breezeway that'll kind of butt into the main house is the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me show you the elevations of what I was thinking for the elevations. So this was the front of it. Now, you had sent me photos of your current house. So I know you said you wanted to kind of match that similar look with the stucco.
Yep.
I noticed some trim details on there. It looks like you have some black trim that's pretty significant around the house. It almost looks like a crown molding that you have.
It's kind of a molding. It's uh like that kind of hollow plastic, that kind of styrofoam feeling stuff.
Yeah, it's basically they're pre-made like stucco details. Like they're meant to be used at like when you use a stucco system.
Yep.
So I figured we'd kind of carry those same details on this. I wanted to keep the windows up high. So what I was talking about upstairs, I set this second story wall back where that storage area is. So we can do a reverse gable here. And that's just to try to add a little bit of detail to the front of the garage. So you don't just look at this thing and have, you
Yeah.
know, a solid wall of stucco. Um,
I love that.
so I did that here to break this up, also change the roof lines a little bit. And then what I wanted to do over this garage area was give you a little bit more of an overhang outside of the garage. You know,
Love
it's so when we go to this elevation here, you'll kind of see on the side view here. So this bump out and this overhang are going to be the same depth. So
Sweet.
we'll get a nice little roof here. A nice little overhang just for covering if the garage door is open, you know, so hopefully it keeps a little bit of water out if you got the door open and it's raining or whatever the case may be, just gives you a little bit more protection. Um,
Yeah, this would be pretty freaking magical.
so I think this should work out pretty good. You know, I'm not, you know, I know you have those half round windows at the front of your house, but I don't think it really has a place in this, you know, building.
Yeah.
The other thing, I want to keep these high so that you have that wall space, and these are more meant for just, you know, light, etc. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think that's it. And then we would do the same color shingle and the same color paint and the same
Yeah, yeah. So,
paint the
let me
doors the same as the garage doors in my house, so it doesn't look as much of a big giant rectangle that we built on the back of the property.
exactly. I mean, because your house now is a single story house. I mean, it's got high roofs on it, you
Yeah.
know, but this thing is gonna look big. So what we're trying to do is make it match as much as possible, you know, so
And
it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
if we
So
can
one of the other things I did,
if we can connect a walkway or breezeway, then it kind of ties the whole thing together, you know.
yeah, one of the other things I did, so I did this side elevation and, you know, kind of going to talk about that breezeway area, you know, we're going to have to work that into this elevation and how it connects. One of the options that I did just kind of as a quick secondary option to break that wall up was we can carry that overhang around
Mm.
on it, you know, and that kind of breaks up again this wall from the poolside view, you know, on the north side of the building.
Yeah.
So, but I think really before we even make a decision on that, we need to look more into the breezeway and how we're going to connect the breezeway, and what we're going to do for a breezeway, you know?
Well, because in my mind, it would be so the stairs would be covered, right?
Yep.
And so it would have a little roof above the stairs that came all the way down.
Yep.
And then, you know, so the house is here, the garage is there. We somehow basically walk that breezeway over to the pool area.
Let me just, so we get a little bit better idea here. Um, so now with the breezeway, are you trying to get to the back side of the house or are you trying to get to the side of the garage? Like what is the,
In a perfect world,
yeah,
so right, go take your cursor back over right to the right up, right there is where you walk into the pool, right? So to the right
yeah,
a little bit is where the doorway is.
okay.
So we have a side, like a little curvy side. I should have sent you the darn pictures. A little curvy sidewalk that goes to, you know, we can redo the sidewalk if we're gonna tear this whole thing apart anyway.
Mhm.
I think it's gonna make sense to make everything right angles and square, right?
Right.
And so in a perfect world, I'd have it connected and it would kind of butt up to the bird cage there somehow. So you'd be able to
Okay.
walk to the pool deck. And then the other thing I would love to have is if we created an awning on the front of the two garage doors of the existing house, because we come
Mhm.
out of the house right where that 70.7 is, that point
Yep.
is right
Yep.
where the exit from the house is.
Okay.
In a perfect world, we'd be able to walk unimpeded because you know it rains so darn much here and the front of the two garage doors
Yep.
over to the new building and then over to the pool, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's possible, but
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at some of the systems. I mean, it's a little bit easier On the new garage from a structural standpoint, like it really depends on what we're gonna do, right? Because you can only hang so much off the side of something without having a support, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then the other thing is, all right, well, if we're gonna do a breezeway, cool, it's not a big deal. We can have supports over in this area, but you can't have supports on the front side of your garage, right? Because then you'll never get in the garage. So that's the only question
yeah.
of, okay, how do we make,
That may be a pipe dream there. I just made that up right now on the spot, so
yeah.
I know that that's something that I
But we certainly can make, I think we can make this work, kind of this L shape, or even if we do it like a triangle where you have two paths, one that's like a direct cut through, and then one that kind of follows along the house or something like that,
The other thing I'm starting to think though now is that so I'm gonna walk out the back porch through the pool deck, which is not covered, to a covering. Is it really?
Right. Oh, you're saying this whole area here.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, to be honest with you, if it was me, what I would probably do is just do a covered walkway along the side of it and up the stairs.
yeah, I think you're right.
Because what that will allow is at least it gives you shelter. We can take it to like almost a corner of the garage or something like that. But I would say you just cover basically your entryways into the garage, so these sides here.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the floor plan here quick. And then we'll do a covered walkway over the stairs. So you can kind of come down. I mean, the main thing is, right, you want to be able to get from inside the first floor up to the second floor without getting drenched if it's raining,
There you
right?
go. Yep, that's
So,
smarter. Yeah.
I mean, you're not really going to be using the pool anyway if it's pouring. So,
Or you're already wet. Yeah.
yeah, so I think you can kind of argue, let's just keep it to this side up the stairs.
I like
That way
that.
you have in and out ability if it's pouring out, whatever the case may be. And it's gonna, just help. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
honestly, it may not be a bad idea to maybe do something off the back over this barn door. And I only say that just for like weather protection.
yeah.
We got to look into what kind of barn door we're going to spec for it. But we got to make sure it's watertight. I mean, you get heavy rain, heavy wind, and the last thing you want is for water to be driving into this and, potentially
Yeah.
flooding this
I mean,
area
it's
out.
not, yeah, yeah, right. It's not the world's worst thing there because I'm gonna have horse stall mats out there. It's not it's gonna be gross,
Yeah,
that's but
yeah,
the other thing in a perfect world, if I could fit it, I would want to have like a 10 by, or like a 15 by 10 pad off the back of the barn door there.
that'd be great. Yeah,
That way I could do like, barbell work outside if I wanted to,
yeah,
if I
yeah,
had a bunch of people over.
yep.
We might be getting into our impervious surface.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it and see. I mean, truthfully, it's always something you can do down the road afterwards.
Sure,
But
yeah.
I think for now, what we'll do is we'll just kind of say this area here, well, I'll look into a nice like covered system and then we'll get that going.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that would mean that technically, yeah. See, I don't think I'd ever walk around the stairs to go into the barn doors. I think I would. The
Come
only
through
thing is,
here.
like, if you're running, so I'd run out the garage, run around the stairs, and then so we'd probably actually want to extend the sidewalk on the other side of the stairs. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, wraps around the side of it.
right, and meets our
Gotcha.
slab out there.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be an issue.
Yeah. Okay. This is great.
Um,
This is the ticket, I think.
these garage doors I have at 8 foot, so you're good with that.
Yep.
These windows, I mean, we can do whatever. Right now I have them as awning windows. So I don't know if you want them as fixed picture windows. I mean, I don't think you're gonna be opening them all that much, but the way that the awning window is, it will kick out on the bottom.
Yeah.
So it usually has a center crank on the bottom and you can kick them out if you wanted to get some ventilation up there or if
The
there's
windows
bad
would
weather.
never ever be opened in the
So
ever.
do you want to just do fixed windows?
Yeah, I mean, don't you have to have them so you can get out and fire or something?
Yeah, well, we'll need egress. So that's part of the other thing with this upstairs. I'd rather keep this open between these two rooms so
Yeah.
we can do that, so one of the things that I think, like, my plan was to make these secondary egress, we're gonna need an egress window for these two rooms. If we can try to combine them as, essentially one room for egress, I think
Yep.
that's the way to go.
Well, that solves my thing is I'd love to have a doorway there, not a door,
Cool.
you know? So
So what we'll do is, honestly, let's leave them as awning for now. When we get further down the road and we actually start specking out the true windows, we can kind of deal with that then.
yeah.
All right. These will be the high windows here. So I think I have them about 6 feet off the ground. So I don't know if that's going to be high. I think I set them at an 8 foot height. 8 foot high headroom. So the other thing you mentioned earlier, you want to do all 8 foot doors?
Correct.
All right, because I have these at 7. So let me do that.
Yeah. Only 8-foot doors. Always 8-foot doors. I mean, I'd be inclined to say the transoms go, a little bit higher.
Okay. Let me go to this. See what I actually got them set at. Yeah, I've got them at 6 foot. So we can push them up. I mean, we can do a little bit shorter transom, but we can also push them up. I mean, technically they can go all the way up to the underside of this, your joist there. But what I was thinking was that we would do, either a steel lintel or bond beam across there, or, precast lintel for these window openings. But we can shift these up, and I don't know, you tell me what you want.
Yeah, I think I'd want a foot of clearance. And I like transoms that are a single window, right? So it's like a
Okay.
single, probably like like an 18 by 72 or something like that. If that's
Yeah,
a
we can look at, most of the stuff I deal with is with Anderson, but we can see, I mean, honestly, you can get anything made. But we'll make this single, and we'll bump it up to, I don't know, we'll do 7 foot, 7.5 feet,
Yeah,
something
it's
like
you
that.
want basically a foot between the ceiling,
Yeah,
the interior ceiling, and the top of the window.
yeah,
Because the whole point of those is not to look out; it's just to let light in.
yeah.
Make it feel not such a dungeon.
Um, I did put a window in the upstairs bathroom
Yeah, that makes sense.
and the window over your sink there.
Yeah, I love that.
All right. And that's pretty much it for now. I wanted to get your feedback mainly on the upstairs, make sure that you were good with that layout. We'll make these couple adjustments and we'll just keep rolling with it. I'll figure out what we're gonna do for the awnings and the covered walkways. I'll take I'll work out the final structural stuff.
Give me
I'm
give
gonna
me
get
give me 10 feet for this the sim, and the little knee,
okay.
your little wall bump outs there. And I love that idea. I would do the theater seating kind of like I have in Helen.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of what I thought with these here,
love
on the backside, give you a little bit more room. And the nice thing about that is, if people are playing pool, it kind of serves a double purpose.
And what I'd probably do is I'd do some like bar height tables on the top and bottom of where the pool table,
Yeah.
just or a little corner, maybe corner mounted little corner tables.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be deep. Honestly, you can get away with like an 18-inch deep shelf for like a bar tabletop.
Yep, exactly.
So,
Love it. It's gonna be sweet.
cool.
It's only gonna cost me $750,000.
Yeah, but you know what? It's gonna be one hell of a garage when you're done.
Yeah, yeah. So now
So,
this takes me, I mean, so the interior space is what is this? That's about 2,200 square feet up there, right? Something like that.
yeah, yeah, I think both floors are about the same, a
So
little
now
over 2,000 square feet.
yeah, so now I take my house to a 7,500 square foot house, something crazy like that. Yeah, but I still probably lose money in the deal. So I'm great at losing money in real estate. So.
Well, it's not people make it seem like it's an easy thing to do, but trust me, a lot of people don't have a good time doing it. So
Well, and if we own or build it, I mean, I might be able to build this for, 250K or 300K or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you've got it pretty well with Mike, and if you basically, I see hire a concrete guy, pour the slab, hire masonry to do the block work. You know what I mean? Let somebody come in that knows what they're doing. Crank it out real quick, and then the rest of the framing stuff. Honestly, there's nothing special about it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's pretty straightforward stuff. And once you get it shelled in and watertight, that's the biggest part of it, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
then the rest of it kind of flows from there. So
Yeah, and then I want to, the whole point of this is to share it and and build it to my spec, and then we can when if he and I do it together, then we get to show the story a
yeah,
little better. It's going to be a lot of fun.
yeah,
And
yeah, it
then
should really be a
I'm
nice
saying
project.
300K with nothing in. I probably have another 300K in here.
Yeah, I would say at least. Yeah, yeah.
But I
It's
don't have to do
it's
that right away.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You get the thing watertight, the wash bay, I mean, there's not much to the downstairs of it, right? You're gonna have your equipment and stuff. You can run all your equipment through the storage room, get everything's gonna be plumbed before you even pour the concrete downstairs, all the roughs. So it really should be nice. And honestly, I'm excited for this kitchen area. I think this game room is really gonna work out pretty awesome.
So just to kind of wrap up here for today's, we'll have some follow-ups for you guys to watch. To do this, so I was about 4K for my soil samples. A survey is like 500 bucks. Well, today it's probably more like 1,000, right? So
Yeah.
I'm at 5K. To do your work is usually about something per square foot, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, I try to get about, I mean, in an ideal world, people get, 10% of cost of construction, but usually I'm in the ballpark of $5 to $10 a square foot for residential work,
Mhm, got it.
you know.
So if we're doing 4,000 square feet, I mean, you're going to pay 20 G's for this.
Yeah, I would say about 20,000 typically. Yeah. And then the other thing that's not included in this is going to be, you're going to have to hire, most of the time you're going to hire a septic engineer, to do, a civil engineer to do the septic.
Yeah.
I would say their fee is probably going to run in the neighborhood of anywhere from 3 to 5,000, depending on how much they're taking care of it, if they're doing the expediting and the filing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that 10% number cost of construction is pretty accurate to what you should expect to pay for all your drawings, like your property survey, your architect, your engineers, your filing fees, that kind of gives you a rough ballpark. And obviously it's harder now because numbers are still so inflated from what they were even, 4 or 5 years ago. That 10% number, you're talking material might have gone up 200%. You know what I mean? My fee hasn't gone up, unfortunately, 200%. So
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness to your entire industry, I mean, if this is a $500,000 building, I'm going to pay you 50 G's, and it's going to take you, 20 hours worth of work. I could hire somebody and have them work for me for a year for 50 G's.
yeah, it depends, honestly. So, a lot of people, there's also different scopes to it, right? So like I would say on average, like a 10% fee in an ideal world, that architect is going to do construction administration for you. He's going to do, making sure that the contractor you're hiring is a competent contractor. Make sure that what he's bidding out is in fact what the scope is on the drawings. So you're a little bit of a different scenario where you're going to go buy what you're going to buy and you know what you want, right? Most of my clients don't. So they're relying a lot more heavily on me to make those selections,
So
and to guide them through the
I
process.
think that's what you and I are going to kind of figure out how to make this work, and that where you're working with Kyle and the design team, and then working with, again, most of our customers already have drawn this out
Yeah.
in their head 500 times. They're
Yeah.
not coming to you from scratch. So, I think you and I are going to work out some sort of like, reasonable fee depending on the size of the scale of the job. I
Yeah.
think that one of my goals is to work with you and to have people have the option to have someone to work with.
Yeah.
that understands. That's the key, is most architects don't understand this type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't even have to tell you about the racing sim. You figured that out, I didn't
Yeah,
have to
well,
tell you about
it's my and that's why I reached out to you. We have similar hobbies. And it's, and like when I talk to Kyle, Kyle's a smart kid, or guy, and I think that we definitely can work something out that, you guys are doing a lot of the back end work on your clients' projects, you know what I mean? So that takes a lot of work off my end, and then, when it gets into more of the structural stuff or some design aspects, that's hopefully where I can come in and add some benefit to it.
Yeah. So anyway, for those of you watching this that are thinking about building a garage, I'm working to create a solution to where, like, if you're in my situation, like, well, I don't know what to do. I want to build this thing. Now what? I got the money. I got the land. Now what do I do? And so I want to be able to offer a solution for you where you can get stamped, sealed, ready to go drawings, and then have a resource to work with to kind of work out some of these things. 'Cause I'm drawing it without loads in mind, without, where do we, I don't know any of that crap. And so
Yeah.
that's what we need in order to you can dream up anything, you can build anything. It's just a question of, how do you engineer it, put it all together so it functions and can be an actual real building.
Yeah.
Uh, so anyway, that I wanted to share with you guys that. So we'll probably do a follow-up as Daniel kind of puts this stuff together. And so our next step would be to get more realistic drawings, right? Or more.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do next is, for one, now that we kind of have a floor plan more or less, nailed down, I'm gonna reach out to my septic guy. He's gonna start to put together his package for me.
Okay.
Uh, I'm gonna go through and do the rest of the structural stuff, make the couple changes that we talked about. Honestly, we're not too far off from having a filing package. I'll probably take this to 90% at this point. We'll do one more review session, make sure everything's good, any final tweaks, and then we'll get it submitted to the town. And then that way we can get the permitting process going, see if they have any comments. It's honestly, it's not all that common that you get a submission through first try without any comments. So they'll probably come back with a couple of things, want us to verify a couple things, and I know you have some of your stuff going on later this year, but hopefully we have a permit by, I don't know, so October, November, something like that.
Yeah. We may push that a little bit depending on what the Adam LZ project looks like. See how.
Right. But
Cool.
yeah.
Cool. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks Daniel for getting us up to speed here on OG Garage Mahal project here. The plan was to build a $75,000 pole barn. Now it's turned into $1 million standalone house. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna have to get a loan to be able to do this thing. So hopefully we'll have a good fall season here. I look at this a little differently than the average guy building the garage, in that I'm going to develop all kinds of products. This will be a showcase. Shoot, every time I have somebody come here, they drive over to my house and kind of walk around and get ideas. This becomes a showroom for me. And I guess technically this has a separate entrance. I could probably write this off as my office, right? So, if it has a separate
I'm sure
entrance
you could.
in-house. So we'll see how this goes. I'll be running the OG podcast out of this thing. So I'll talk to Eric, my accountant. I'm sure he's going to tell me no, but I'm going to try to figure out a way to expense this as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks, Daniel, for your help, and we'll see you on the next video.
Appreciate it, Matt.